Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Penik, and we've made it. It is a preview pod. We are talking about a Giants football game that matters, hosting the Minnesota Vikings in the Century Red. Justin, it feels so freaking good to be back. I'm excited. I don't care what the expectations for this team are. I don't care if people are down on the team. I am so excited to watch Giants football, to break down Giants football, to live with it, to die with it. Giants football is back, and I am ready to freaking go. And we have a new weatherman, Jolly Olive, which will be welcoming on the show later for segments. Justin, how are you?
Yeah, man, excited about Jolly Olive, but man, week one is it's best time. NFL kickoff is the best time of every year, especially if you're rooting for a team where you don't know what their expectations are. And you don't know what the months of October, November, and December are going to bring. Week one is awesome, and why not? Why not let it be this Giants team? Literally, you put out a tweet a couple days ago, Bobby, where you said, all right, here were the starters that were here last year, quarterback to quarterback, Daniel Jones to Daniel Jones, running back, Saquon Barkley to Devin Singletary. He did that for every single position on the roster, comparing it from 2023's roster. Bobby, this team should be better. And I think this team is overall better, even though there are some losses. This year's football team should be better than last year's football team, right? Hopefully,
there's no excuses for it not to be.
They're a little bit healthier, and there's an opportunity this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that, I would say they're on a pretty level, even playing field with, but it's a home game. Own it. Let's go. Week one, 100th year anniversary, all the stuff, all the vibes. Let's win a football game, man.
Yeah, it's important for the Giants to start this season strong with the Vikings and Commanders, right? The schedule gets tough. You can always steal some games, but it's important that if you say you steal 2 games in that tough, 6-game stretch, it's important that you won the first 2 games for those 2 stolen games to matter for the Giants. But we're going to get into it all. We got a deep preview, and then we'll hit segments with our new weatherman, new weatherman Jolly Olive.
Just breaks your heart. Can I announce something first, too?
The tailgates?
The tailgates.
We'll wait because Jolly's going to be there, so we'll talk about it then.
Click the link in the description.
What we'll bring is this episode is brought to you by some special people. We have Brian O'Connell, and then we have Donnell Hunter. Justin, who are these people?
Donnell Hunter?
Yeah.
Misses the Minnesota Vikings.
I think he hates the Vikings.
Hates the Vikings, loves the Texans, got paid by them, and loves the Giants. Now, they all went to patreon.com/talkgiants for $2 a month.
It's actually Daniel Hunter.
Oh. $2 a month plus some other perks, plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we're recording the show. We got 30 people right now in our Patreon chat that are very excited for Giants-Vikings kickoff week one. You're going to be with us. You're going to want to be with us Sunday night when we're reacting to a Giants-Vikings win. Plus, Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail. There's some shirt raffles a couple times a month. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. Thanks to our patrons. We love you.
Be glad you did. Just in the Minnesota Vikings, we're going to talk about the Giants offense first, their Vikings defense first. This is a defense that's going to test you. With the way Brian Flores, blitzes like crazy, he's going to test you. But it's also a defense that can be vulnerable. The teams scored 25-plus on them 8 times last year, and they lost their best player in Donnell Hunter. Right, to me, which was their clear and away best player on that defense last year, they lost him. But bad QBs did have real issues with them because Brian Flores makes it tough. Right, like he ran cover 0, which is an all-out blitz, more times than he ran just cover 1 regular man coverage. They're going to put 3 safeties on the field who are going to move between nickel and safety and the box. They led the NFL in blitz rate last year at 51%. So more times than not, they are blitzing. That's unreal. They blitz a linebacker 20 times per game. They blitz a DB 15 times per game. Now, they didn't turn it into a lot of sacks last year, but what they do is they force you to try and get the ball out quick, and they rally. They throw disguised looks at you. This is a defense that tests you, but at the end of the day, it's not overly talented, and the Giants, if their quarterback's ready to go, if their play caller now and Brian Daboll's ready to go, they should be able to match it with the talent they have on the outside.
No, and the only worry is if they're going to give you disguised looks pre-snap, and then they're going to transition to something afterwards, that's where you get a little worried about Daniel Jones making some mistakes.
Yeah, because we want to be explosive, but here's the thing: is you kind of have to fight fire with the Vikings, right? If you obviously there's going to be some low average depth of target stuff, but you're kind of playing in their hand. You have to test and trust that you can block some stuff up because there's there's opportunities for explosives, right? Like, we know with Wink Martindale as our defense coordinator the last 2 years, you are vulnerable against screens when you run a blitzing type defense, right? So teams like to throw screens versus the Vikings. The issue is the Vikings rally really, really well to screens. They do a really good job defending them and get at them. Why? It's because they're so aggressive in it, right? They are aggressive on that QB pulling his shoulder back, and that makes them vulnerable on the back end, right? Like if I'm watching this defense, I am running a couple screens to start the game early, right? In first, second drive, third drive, I'm running a little screen and having my outside receiver, whoever that is, Jalen Hyatt, whatever, show like he's going to block, and then I'm sending him right past that DB because there's going to be opportunities for that. And they're just going to try and confuse you, right? When they're rushing 4, they're stunting. Essentially every single time they're rushing 4, they're putting their guys wide and they're stunting. So I actually went back and actually watched the Raiders game versus the Vikings last year, which they scored 0 points because one, Carmen Brasilla was the offensive line coach, and then you had Greg Van Roten and Jermaine Eleanor. I actually thought both those guys played really well. I thought they were the two guys who played well, but you have to be aggressive in your pass sets as your guard because they're going to sense. So you got to get out there and move. And sometimes that'll leave your center one-on-one, and there'll be times where last year they put Donnell Hunter on the center on some of those downs, I expect Grenard to get some snaps there. So they're just going to throw a lot. Like third down, they'll put 8 guys in the box, right? Kind of roaming around, not just like a set front, but 8 guys in the box. And then they'll drop 5 of them, and they'll have 8 guys back in coverage on third down, right? So you think of a team that blitzes a lot, but a lot of times on third down, they're actually only rushing 3. And they like to back in those 2 deep coverages. So if they're in a 2 deep coverage, if you're sending 3 guys deep, then you have an opportunity for a big play. But when you have 8 guys in the box, you want to be protected against it. So you're not. Yeah. So you kind of have to answer fire with fire. Like have some risks of taking sacks, but you're like, you know what? If they back out into this and we have 3 guys moving down the field, we have an opportunity for a big play. But they're going to get aggressive on the quick game, right? They're going to trap corners. They throw a lot at you. So you can't just have a good drive. You have to be alert all game, but you can't play against them afraid, or you're just going to have a bunch of 20-yard drives.
So it sounds like this is a lot of games too, but it sounds like first and second down are going to be so important in avoiding these third and longs, where that's where Brian Flores can get into his bag of tricks. He'll show you these cover 0 looks, and either he brings them or he drops guys back. And I think that if we're facing these 3rd and 7s, these 3rd and 8s, or even these 3rd and 6s often, I'm getting afraid, and we're just not going to win the football game. And it also sounds like, Bobby, to me, and we saw the Giants do this a lot through 2022. We saw them do it a lot during the Texans game. I think on early downs when we're going to throw the ball, I think we're going to see a lot of play action attempts, right? Play action, as if we're going to be blitzing a lot, we need to give the defense something to respect, which is respecting the fact that Daniel Jones could hand off the ball here. Respect the play action attempt, and then hopefully that gives Daniel Jones a little bit more time to throw the ball, right?
Absolutely, right? And allow your guys to make some plays, because they're not going to send all these blitzes. Like part of it is not just play action. Part of it is running the ball, right?
I do think they should. I think this is a game, especially, with Daniel Jones looking a little shaky during the preseason. We don't know what he's going to fully look like. I do think this can be a plus offensive line running the ball this year, and I don't mind if that's maybe how they start off a little bit.
Especially this game, because if you get into like some heavy formations, that's when they're going to get into just regular defensive fronts, right? When you spread out, that's when Brian Flores gets to play to his strengths, which you're going to do. When you have this wide receiver group, you're going to have to do that. But for this game specifically, like, I would run at them.
Yeah.
Right?
Jordan Hicks is gone, who I think was one of their better run defenders, and
they lost Donnell Hunter, the leader in tackles for a loss.
Yeah, I don't think they're particularly I don't think they're a good run defense.
They're not. Like, and I would run at, like, one, I think their defensive line gets worked on double teams. There was plenty of times where Greg Van Roten and Jermaine Eleanor were involved in that. But what I would do is I would run at Ivan Pace, because I like Ivan Pace, but he's a chance taker. And what he will do is he will lose his gap. And I would bait him into that, right? Where if you get to like the front side of him, he will try and chase. He will chase it to the back side, and that will leave him out. And you get some you get Jakob Johnson out there. You leave yourself vulnerable when you do that to some big runs. And I do think the Giants should do some of that stuff. Like the main thing when Pace is taking those chances is that the backside does their job of a play, right? That John Michael Schmitz doesn't get squeezed into the play side from a backside defensive tackle. So, like, you need that, that backside guard to have urgency to stop from, like, that the defensive tackle on the backside to squeeze that in and make it lesser of a gap. But I actually watched the Raiders and Brasillo and Elmanor and Jakob Johnson and Greg Van Roten. They actually did a pretty good job when they were running the ball to the right in that game. So I would take care of the front, right? I think that's going to be something that they do a lot offensively this year with the run game. Take care of the front and just kind of run at Ivan Pace, right? Ivan Pace is someone who likes to blitz. He can make a play in coverage here or there, but he is small and he does take chances. Force him to make mistakes. Bait him into making mistakes, and I think you can have a much healthier run game than what the Giants had all last year, and specifically in this game. Because, like you said, if you're trying to throw the ball so much in this game, you're gonna make some mistakes.
Yeah, there's gonna be sacks.
It's hard to have a long drive now. Look for explosives because they are there versus this defense.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors. I trust Malik Neighbors. I actually think the safeties of Cameron Bynum, Josh Metellus, and Harrison Smith are very good. I think that's a really good trio of safeties that they have.
They move them around like crazy.
Against the run and in coverage, I think all three of them are very good. But hey, Darius Slayton and Malik Neighbors, even let's throw Jalen Hyatt in the mix. Like, our receivers should be consistently beating these corners.
Yeah, I mean, Stephon Gilmore has been added to this unit, right? He's a good player, and he did play really good against the Giants last year.
Yeah, I forgot about Gilmore.
4 for 11, 44 yards, an interception, and 3 pass breakups. But he is their best cornerback by a wide margin, and like I don't have any fear of him with Malik Neighbors. This isn't going against Jalen Johnson or something. Like, he had a good year last year. He didn't have this. He's not what he once was, even though he is their best corner. And then you're going to have some quick game, but I would be a little weary of the quick game because that's where they try and bait you into mistakes.
Yeah.
Because they throw so many different looks at you, right? Like Josh Metellus and Cam Bynum, those guys are technically safeties. They essentially play all their slot. Murphy got 10 to 20 nickel snaps for them every game last year. We'll see what his role is now that they have Gilmore and Shaq Griffin. But like, they just move those guys around a lot. So again, they are a vulnerable defense. They are an attacking defense. They make you work. It is hard to have long drives versus them. So I would look to run the ball and find explosives where I can get them, right? If you run the ball, you work some play action out of those formations too. And then when you get on third down, like, I wouldn't be just looking for first down. Like, third down would be hey, we either get a big play here or we're off the field, right? Like, those are actually the plays because that's when they get tested. Is because they're going to want to double Malik Neighbors probably at times. That's when I would look for the big plays is on third down because they are good at giving you the quick game, giving the illusion of it, and then rallying and tackling you before you get the first down. So it's a tough defense to prepare for. There's nothing easy about it, but I do think it's a vulnerable defense, and I think the Giants, Brian Daboll, Daniel Jones, they have the players to be equipped to beat the Vikings defense.
It's also a defense that historically has not gotten off to hot starts in the past, and I hope that's the case again. Yeah,
Brian Flores' defenses have had rough starts to begin their seasons. In the past, you think of that Ravens game that was a bad roster. But even last year, nobody was talking about how great Brian Flores was early in the year. It was kind of like, what the hell is he doing at times? I remember the 3 deep safeties against the Eagles, where the Eagles we'll just run it. Now you're not going to get that type of look if you're the New York Giants, but they throw a lot at you. It's a lot to be prepared for, but I do think the Giants can do that. But it's going to be a tough test. It's not going to be easy.
Nope.
At all. Other notes on the Giants offense, again, like I said, be aggressive. I think there's more risks in the short area of the field against the Vikings defense than down the field, because they're baiting you into those short area fields. They have the low average depth of target. I think that's where the risks of turnovers come. Not from pushing the ball 40, 50 yards down the field. It's from throwing the slot a route on the stick, and that outside corner is slamming down, right? We saw Daniel Jones, getting bit by that a couple times in his career or the last couple of years. That's something that they're going to try and do versus the Giants. Yeah. That's absolutely, especially now that there's no real film on Malik Neighbors yet. That's something that they're going to try and do. Is they're going to try and bait throws to little stick routes to Wan'Dale Robinson and having that outside corner slamming down to stop that.
So they run a lot of cover 0, cover 1, right?
No, they don't run. They actually don't run much man coverage outside of cover 0. It's mostly just backing into zone coverages from that front where it has 8 guys in. But they live mostly out of zone coverage, but they run a lot of cover 0 where it's just true all-out blitzes.
Do you basically think, my question is, pre-snap read, Darius Slayton's running a go route on the sideline, Slayton's running a go Neighbors, Slayton, or Hyatt's running a go route on the sideline, and you think you have a 1v1 look. I feel like this is going to happen, but then you also have the dangers of the Hyatt interception that we saw in the preseason.
Yeah, but you can't live in fear of that. You got to take those chances and make those throws. So
you feel like those may be there.
Those should be there. You shouldn't be facing Derek Stingley. Like those, you have to hit on those throws. Those are big boy throws. And, even coming away from that preseason game, nobody was saying, hey, don't throw that throw again. You're just saying, make it a better throw.
Right.
So, yeah, that's there. Justin, do you want to talk to us about something before we talk about the Vikings offense?
Love to talk to you about something. You know what we all need to get more of? Off our ass. And you know how much I love Mountain Dew. It'll be 8 a.m. at MetLife Stadium, Sunday morning, and all throughout the tailgate, Sunday during the day. I'm going to have my Mountain Dew products with me because it's got me feeling like I'm on an actual mountain, because that's how high on excitement I'm going to be with Mountain Dew and being at that Giants tailgate. L16, come by and say hello. A mountain where the weather is always perfect. We'll talk about the weather soon. Your friends are ready to hang, and a day of epic proportions awaits. I love my Mountain Dew. This is a dream partnership. I'm so thankful that they're here. Thankful that they're going to be with us, and let's win some football games. The mountain is calling. You should answer. Grab your friends. Grab an ice cold Mountain Dew wherever refreshing beverages are sold, and do the do. You're going to be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Danny King's in the chat, and it makes me sad.
Waiting for his Zoom, the Zoom invite link.
Yeah, he said, "Where's my Zoom link, boys? Just really digging the knife in." All right, Justin, for the Vikings offense, Kirk Cousins is gone. It's going to be interesting to see how they run with Sam Darnold, because in reality, now, Sam Darnold's, you'd think he's like a perfect fit for this, but he's actually like not. Here's what the play action stuff is good for Sam Darnold. And the Vikings are going to run more play action than basically any non-Arthur Smith team in the NFL. They run play action on a third of their attempts. They push the ball downfield and they attack the middle of the field. Like Mullins was first in play action rate last year, and Kirk Cousins was fourth. You usually don't see the vet quarterbacks be high in play action rate. And 63% of Kirk's yards last year came from the middle of the field, and they liked Mullins pushed the ball down the field. He had the second highest average depth of target. Kirk was actually kind of low. But let's talk about Justin Jefferson first before we talk about Sam Darnold, because I actually went back and watched Sam Darnold with the 49ers and a little bit with the Panthers. But with Justin Jefferson, that's their number one offensive weapon. And I don't think you can stop Justin Jefferson.
No, you're not going to.
Especially with the Giants' defensive personnel. Like, there's no stopping him from getting his yards, right? Nope. I would not do that, right? He had, of his last 27 games, 14 of them he's had over 120-plus receiving yards. And you're like, oh, well, now it's Sam Darnold at quarterback. Well, with Nick Mullins at QB, he had 32 catches, 476 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 4 games. That's only the best numbers on a per-game basis in the NFL. And I do have worries if Deonte Banks is a legit cornerback 1 in year 2, but I'm not going to judge him if Jefferson wins this matchup easily, because Jefferson, to me, is on another level. But what you can do is you can look for ways to make them pay for giving Justin Jefferson a lot of yards, right? And that is by disguising coverages and looking to get turnovers. And that's something that Shane Bowen likes to do, is change the look post-snap with the safeties, throw some different looks in the middle of the field, and that you can make Sam Darnold pay for giving Justin Jefferson a big game. Like, I am resigned to the fact that Justin Jefferson is a big game. But can the Giants get their hands on the football and create some turnovers, which Sam Darnold, despite the fact that he has looked a little better the last couple of years, he still turns the ball over at a pretty decently high rate.
Yeah, and my thing is, this is going to be, until we get an idea of what this Giants defense is going to be, my week 1 ask is make the Vikings earn it and make them run a lot of plays. And do not, if you're going to allow these big plays to Justin Jefferson, or, hey, Jordan Addison, it looks like he's going to play. I think Jordan Addison is really good. But if we're allowing big plays to Jalen Naylor or Trent Sherfield, Brandon Powell, or, it even is helpful that we're going to have the tight end. Hawkinson, TJ Hawkinson.
Out.
TJ Hawkinson's going to be out, so the starting tight end is going to be Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver. If we're allowing big plays to some of those guys, that's going to be tough. If we're going to be allowing big plays at all to this Vikings offense, it's obviously going to be tough, but I would rather it be, I guess, Justin Jefferson beating us there. Make this Vikings offense earn it. Make them run a lot of plays. If they're going to put together a 10, 11, 12-play drive where it ends in 7 points, then great, they've earned it, man. But the way that you're going to lose this football game, regardless of what the Giants offense does, is if you're allowing plays of 20-plus yards on a consistent basis.
And I think the way to is look for turnovers, right? When you're facing a Sam Darnold-led offense. We don't know exactly how it's going to look in Minnesota. I know there's this idea. Well, he was in San Fran last year. The throws were to the side. I went back and watched some Darnold film. He has 4 interceptions in his last 7 starts. So, again, not as high as it was early in his career, but he's still pretty high. He's very much a one-read to check down type of quarterback, which I think Aaron Jones will probably be their second leading receiver, at least reception-wise, is in the middle of the field, because it's very much like, hey, sideline to the check down.
You don't think Addison?
Not yards. Addison will have more, but I think Aaron Jones will actually have more catches than Jordan Addison.
I think Addison's that good, and I think they have plans for him.
But with Darnold, because Darnold likes the sideline, right? Where you see him make mistakes is the middle of the field, right? And that is what this offense is. It is a play action attack the middle of the field. So if the Giants do some stuff to just move Darnold off of those outside, like if you're just playing off coverage on the outside, they're gonna run hitches, they're gonna run out routes, they're gonna run slants, they're gonna run those routes to the outside receiver, and Darnold's gonna spam them. Where he makes the consistently bad and dumb reads is the middle of the field. So I think the Giants will give up some plays there, but that's where it's like, I know it's Tyler Newman's first game. I want Bobby Okereke or Tyler Newman's hand on the football a few times in this game. Obviously not saying they need to get 3 interceptions, but they should get their hands on the football a couple times. And then Darnold, we talk about, a little bit of a bend, don't break. That's where he's his worst, in the red zone. He's not confident. He looks to go into scramble drill, so you got to be on top of that. So I don't have any fear of Sam Darnold, even though this Viking offense can make a lot of QBs look pretty good.
Yeah.
But the one thing the Vikings did without Kirk Cousins, it wasn't that they didn't get yards, it was that they turned the ball over.
Right. But they were really good on early downs. And that's where the story of Nick Mullins is quite fascinating, where if you look at his first and second down numbers, they were awesome. I'm pretty sure he had every single turnover that Nick Mullins had was on third down. And that's, ironically enough, I feel kind of similar about Sam Darnold. I feel like Sam Darnold on early downs where a playbook is wide open, Sam Darnold can be a little dangerous. But if you get him into third and long, almost similar like we're saying with the Giants offense, you need to avoid third and long. But if you get Sam Darnold into these third and longs, that's where Dexter Lawrence is start licking his chops. That's where Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, that's where you can start licking your chops a little bit. And maybe even Shane Bowen can get unique with the nickel corner blitz, a safety blitz, or a linebacker blitz. I know we don't do that quite often, but that's where maybe he can get a little funky and a little crazy of disguising looks himself on third and long.
Yeah. And that's when Darnold makes his mistakes, is when he's forced to not just read an outside receiver, but actually read a defense.
Yeah, I know. I probably say this often, but really now that we're talking about this game, I'm going to be in the stands at MetLife Stadium on Sunday, and I'm going to say to myself, this game is going to be won on first and second down by both teams, first and second down. Yeah. You're not going to win this game on third down. You're going to win this game on first and second down, and how often you're not facing third downs. Or if you're facing third downs, can you make it a 3rd and 5 or less? Yeah.
And again, I would people think of Sam Darnold as like this gunslinger, and he really hasn't been that recently in his career. But I would try and get him to push the ball down the field, because that's where the mistakes happen, or just bad play.
I don't know if we have the corners that can make the play on the football.
Well, I mean, you cloud Justin Jefferson, right? I'm not saying, hey, let's just go one-on-one, force him to throw cloud, but last year he was 4 of 16 on throws of 10-plus air yards. 4 of 16, that's awful. 24 of 29 on short throws. The year before that, it was actually much better on the deep throws, but he had a huge, high interception rate when pushing the ball down the
The
field.
only thing that's different is I know there was there was some time with Kyle Shanahan, but now this is Kevin O'Connell, and Kevin O'Connell's a good coach, and he's gonna know. He's had a whole summer to spend with Sam Darnold. He's gonna know, like, how to take advantage and how to get the best out of. I think he's going to get the best out of Sam Darnold.
Sure, but
what does
Darnold
that look
is
like
still
week one? We'll see.
Darnold still makes mistakes. This has to be a game plan of baiting him into mistakes because this offense has guys where they're going to put up yards. Right? I am not saying the Giants defense is not going to go in here and hold them to 180 total yards, but they do. But here's the other thing: the pass rush needs to fucking step up for this Giants defense.
Oh yeah,
that's the number one thing, right? You're the strength of this defense. You need to win, right? On the interior, their offensive line is actually not good in the interior. Ed Ingram was 51st of 56 guards in pass blocking efficiency last year. Dalton Risner's gone or out. Blake Brandel starting for him. He would have been 52nd. And Garrett Bradbury is an okay center, but he just can't hang with Dexter Lawrence.
No, I think we saw that in 2022.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Dex had 4 QB hits and 3 pressures on him in the playoff game. And look at Bradbury's QB hits allowed by season the last 2 years is 5 and 4. Dex got that in one game versus a guy. So Dex is going to dominate, right? There's no doubt in my mind Dex is going to dominate Garrett Bradbury. If there was any game where the other defensive tackles can get halfway decent rush, this would be it because they have a bad guard situation. I'm not expecting that, but the reality is Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, we need you. I went back and watched Brian Burns versus the Vikings last year, and I was not impressed. He had 1 sack, and that sack came on a play-action play where Kirk Cousins took 5 seconds to throw the ball. 0 hits and 0 pressures. He was bad in the run game. He cannot be happy just trying. Darrisaw beat him. Darrisaw whipped him in that game, and that was one of the worst games for Brian Burns last year. Burns, I'm not saying he needs to go out there and dominate Christian Darrisaw, right? That just does not realistic. But he needs to have more than 1 win. Like he needs to get more consistent with his wins. Maybe put him a little bit on the right side. I know the Giants have been lining up mostly on the left tackle throughout camp and then a little bit we saw in preseason. But you traded for Brian Burns, you pay him this money. He needs to look like the second best player on this defense after Dexter Lawrence.
An impact player. Player.
Yeah, like on a down in, down out basis, he needs to look like the second best player on this defense. And if we're not saying that, it's because Bobby Okereke played so damn well.
Right.
He needs to look like a beast. And then Kayvon Thibodeau. Right. I'm going to save a little bit of stuff on Kayvon Thibodeau, but it's year 3. It's if you want to say anything on Kayvon, you can say it, but I'm going to save a little bit. Kayvon Thibodeau, it's year 3. So this defense, this is week 1 of a year where the Giants' strength is their pass rush. Go do it. Go do it against a good tackle duo and a bad interior.
Yeah, make an impact. That's
right.
it.
We can't have the strength of this defense being their pass rush and be like, well, they have a good tackle duo, so that's why we didn't see it. Mm-hmm. That cannot be the case for the Giants this year, and especially not this week 1 game versus the Minnesota Vikings. Run defense. It's going to be interesting to see how good the Vikings are run game wise because they were awful last year. 29th in yards, 23rd in yards per carry, 25th in EPA per play. But Aaron Jones is the best back they've had, in my opinion, since 2020 Dalvin Cook.
Madison was terrible. Fumbled the ball left and right.
Yeah, they were just an awful rushing team last year. But Aaron Jones is still really good. And like I said, I think he's going to be involved in the receiving game. There's going to be a lot on the plate to Bobby Okereke and hopefully Micah McFadden. I think Micah McFadden ends up playing in this game. But Bowen's going to let this front attack and look for tackles for a loss. So again, talking about the front, they need to make their plays, but there's going to be a lot on the plate of Okereke and McFadden. Because I do think Aaron Jones is really good. And the Vikings have been a zone running team, which Dex should eat up. I remember in the playoff game and that last regular season game talking to Sean Syed, who was covering the Vikings at the time, maybe the best film guy around. I was like, why don't they run any gap versus the Giants? Because the Giants that year could not stop gap runs and zone runs. They were actually good. And he's like, I don't know. So they did that last year, but then once they put Ty Chandler as the starter, they actually mixed it up a little bit. So I'll be interested to see how their running game changes because they're not built to be a zone running scheme. And then they went out and got Aaron Jones, who's a good back, and they spent a little bit of money on him. So I don't know exactly what to expect out of the Vikings run defense, but you know what? A front like this with Bobby Okereke on the second level, they should be able to win versus Vikings rush offense.
I agree, and I'd rather the Vikings find a little bit of success running the ball, as long as we're not allowing plays of 10-plus yards or 20-plus yards on a consistent basis. That's the main thing that this Giants defense needs to avoid. Can't allow big plays.
All right, Justin, do you have anything else on these units?
No. Excited. Let's introduce them and bring on the Weatherman.
No, let's introduce to our good friend, SeatGeek. Thanks so much to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Baseball season is in full swing, but guess what? NFL season, it's in more of a swing because it's a better sport. And it's here. And SeatGeek is the best place to buy tickets. They rate every ticket on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know if you're getting a good deal, which is great, right? We all want it. No one wants to get ripped off, and they let you know. You're not getting ripped off. Look for the green dots, baby. And look for the red dots on the Vikings because we're pat. Green means good, red means bad. And right now you can use code Giants10 for 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you're a new customer or not. No matter how many times you bought tickets using SeatGeek before, Giants10 is going to get you 10% off your next order. I actually used this to go to the NASCAR race a couple weeks ago, this code. Thank you. It's like, I spend the money and I make the money. So take out your phones, whip it out, open the SeatGeek app, and add code Giants10 to your account. What are you waiting for? Do it now because the offer is only available for a limited time. Code Giants10 for 10% off your next order. You'll be glad you did. All right, we now welcome on to the program our new weatherman, rest in peace, Danny King, Jolly Olive of Shea Station fame. Jolly, and your YouTube channel just named Jolly Olive. We've been teasing this for a little while. Welcome to Talking Giants 3.0.
Guys, it's an honor. Rest in peace, Danny King.
I am a little sad.
Yeah,
even though I'm happy, like I'm excited, but I'm very sad that it's like me and Danny started the show and now he's gone.
I mean, there's a lot of legacy there. Danny King, you've been trying to kill him for years. He finally got the job done. He's off to greener pastures, and I'm excited. I need everyone to know. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it slow because I know Justin had an IEP in high school, so I want to make sure it's said. I am not Danny King. I'm going to hope to, bring his legacy to every episode, but, I'm bringing a different energy, and I still want that Talking Giants energy to come through, but I'm not Danny King. Danny King is gone. And I think we can all be better Talking Giants men from it.
We just need definitive weather reports. Danny King at the end got very weatherman-like and wasn't giving us actual weather. He's just saying things that could happen and stuff that actually couldn't. So
I'm also excited for this because you're one of my best friends in this company.
Yeah, that's Justin. So not everyone knows. So we work at some people are like, oh, you guys work at John Boy Media. Yeah. So we work at John Boy Media. Jolly does his own YouTube channel, Jolly Olive, and the host of the Mets podcast, Shea Station.
Jam Baseball Trivia.
Yeah, so he's, and he's obviously a New York Giant. The most popular guest was actually Dalton.
Dalton's not people know that Dalton's not a Giants fan.
Yeah, we could have him on to do weather, though.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but people knew that. I think people would know that you're.
And you and Dalton really don't like each other.
Yeah, we're notoriously enemies.
Yeah.
So I have one more question. What is the weather for Week 1 at MetLife Stadium?
Now, before I tell you that, I want you guys to know I'm going to be a fan.
Oh, and trivia.
Yeah, and trivia is coming too. I listened to the last recap episode before this one last season, and Danny, I don't know, man. He wasn't very assertive on anything. He was very pensive. He said it might snow, it might rain, it might be windy. I'm going to tell you guys, not might. It is going to be in the mid-70s. There's not going to be much climate. It's going to be a little humid, but there's going to be a real nice breeze. It almost feels like perfect weather for the kickoff to a season. Perfect weather to go 1-0.
1-0. We got to go. So, again, this is a lot of times people's first preview pod for us. So we obviously do the segment in the beginning where me and Justin break down the game. If we know a good interview for another team, we'll have them on. And then we do segments. So Jolly's going to do weather trivia, and then we do a fantasy draft. We'll explain that. We do our Giant factor, and then we do our spread picks for the week, and then our game prediction for the Giants game. But next we have trivia, which you are kind of like a trivia guy, which was something we already did.
Right.
What is our trivia for this week?
So glad you asked, Bobby. And trivia's going to be a little different this year because like you said, I am a little bit of a trivia guy. I want you guys to be competitive. I want you guys to be invested. So I'm going to be keeping track of how many you get right and wrong throughout the season. And whoever has a higher score at the end, I will be buying a Giants jersey for.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
Choosing. So get invested. You have 18 weeks to get as many right as you think.
Yeah, I'm going to start just studying trivia now.
Kind of, yeah.
That's like a big investment.
Here's my first one. We all know this. The Giants beat the Vikings for their last playoff victory in 2022. But believe it or not, They've lost 4 straight regular season games against the Vikings, a streak that is going to end this Sunday. The last time they beat the Vikings in the regular season was in October of 2013. It was their first win of the season to make them 1-6. There were 2 skill position players that scored a touchdown in that game. I would like you to name me one of them. If you get one, you get the question right. You can go for a bonus point and try and get both, but I just need one name.
It's crazy because I remember so much. This was the Josh Freeman game. This was in Detroit because I was in Minnesota when this happened, and the stadium collapsed with snow. So,
My first guess,
yeah, you go first.
David Wilson.
Okay. Bobby?
I'm going to say Reuben Randall had a touchdown in that game.
Bobby's going to take the early season lead. Reuben Randall did have a touchdown in that game. He also had a touchdown in the next loss that the Giants had to the Vikings. There's one other player, skill position player, that scored a touchdown in the game. Do you want to just take a guess?
Is it the tight end? The white tight end?
Was it for the Giants or the Vikings?
It was for the Giants.
I don't know.
It was running back Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis.
One of only 2
that happened that
touchdowns
early in the
he
year?
Scored for the Giants happened in that game to help them win. And that's your first trivia question of the year. So, Bobby, you're officially up 1-0.
You gave me the trivia now became a competition, which is what this entire segment of the show is.
Right.
It's just competition between us, so I like it. All right, so what we do next is we do a fantasy draft of the Giants players and their opponent. Right. It's running back, wide receiver, tight end only, so no quarterback or no defense. PPR is the rules, and you don't know this rule yet, but you can trade a player up until kickoff,
right,
but you have to have picked that player in the 3rd or 4th round, right? So sometimes you get a guy who's on the borderline injury, you take him and trade him, but you have to tweet at every other member of the show and Talking Giants when you make that trade and send it in the group text so I make sure I see it, and that will make it official. I am coming off of back-to-back championships in the fantasy draft after a 21-point victory over Danny King. And it's cumulative points, too, which actually people think it would get wide. It doesn't. Danny won in 2021. Justin won in 2020.
Nice.
I will be picking first. So I got to pick the order because I won. And I really struggled on what pick to take. But I at the end of the day, I said I can't pass up on the opportunity to take what I think is going to be the offensive player of the year this year. And Justin Jefferson, and I'm taking Justin Jefferson first. I mean, there's just no – he's the only slam dunk points in this game until we see Malik Neighbors become someone until that becomes a slam dunk picks. I mean, I'm basically starting hot. Week 1 really can decide it a lot of times. So I'm going Justin Jefferson was 1-1 on my big board with my first pick, and then Justin, you have the second pick. And this highlights matchups a little bit, too, in a more casual way.
Malik Neighbors.
Going for it.
Second pick.
So the Giants, until we see Devin Singletary establish himself, until we figure out the rest of the wide receiver room, I really think it was only Malik Neighbors or Aaron Jones, and because his PPR wide receivers benefit a little bit, even though I think Jones is going to get a lot of catches, I think that was really the only. Did you battle with that at all? Because I really feel like there was only 2 choices there.
No, I didn't battle with that.
Okay, and then Jolly, you have back-to-back picks.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good one to have the wraparound because, 1-2, they can get a little scared. I think, Jefferson's QB proof, but we'll see. The matchup with, I think it's going to be Neighbors and Gilmore, right?
Probably, yeah.
So that makes me feel pretty good about wide receiver 2 on the Giants. I'm going to make Aaron Jones the 3rd pick because that feels like big board logical.
We always
Sometimes we just take the Giants player first to show more faith when we have the back-to-back.
Okay, so Aaron Jones will be my 4 then.
Yes.
I like that because Slayton is going to be my 3.
Love that.
Slayton's been Mr. Reliable. He's not going to have the tougher matchup. He might get more targets because of that.
The thing that worries me about Slayton, and this is something we didn't talk about in the beginning for the show, we get to see who they're going to try and make wide receiver too.
Yeah.
Now, we did, after that Texans game, for the first time, one of them took reps with the second team, and that was Jalen Hyatt. Neither one of them had taken a single rep with the second team. So I do think Slayton gets the edge, but they're going to be trying to create options for Hyatt. But this is, to me, one of the more fascinating dynamics on the team is how does wide receiver 2 play out? Because one of these guys is going to be unhappy. Ideally, you'd want Jalen Hyatt to win it, but you can also be in a situation where, we did it on the mailbag. Hyatt is in a very much like, all right, are you part of the future, or are you just a nice piece to have that can create some big plays? So,
There's a little Wandale factor there too,
Yeah, and Wandale's gonna hold down the slot, but it's like just those outside receivers. It's Slayton versus Hyatt. So, all right. So you went Slayton and Aaron Jones. Justin, who is your second pick?
I'll get Devin Singletary, a guy that hey, if you were wondering about who you should take at the second pick, Malik Neighbors, Devin Singletary, I wind up getting both.
This is my board so far.
Okay, so Slayton was actually 7th on my big board, and you went 4th. And so I'm getting the guy that's 4th on my big board. Actually, I'm going to wait because he is battling with an injury, so I can put him in the tradable slot. So I'm going to take Wan'Dale Robinson just because I know he's going to get a bunch of catches, so that's technically my second pick, but it's like a high floor third pick. And then I'm going to take Jordan Addison with the third pick. I mean, over 900 yards last year. I do wonder how he'll fit with a Sam Darnold because Addison's someone that you kind of have to trust. Because he doesn't get open where it's so easy, like, oh, he just won. It's very much like he wins leverage at the end of the route. And a lot of his big plays were on like these deep posts where he was covered and made some contested catches despite his frame. But he is to me the logical pick here. He was number 4 on my big board, and I'm getting him at 6/7. So I'm going Wan'Dale and Jordan Addison. Justin, your third pick. This is where it gets tough.
That's where it gets rough.
Because you could get 0 points out of this next slot.
Yeah, because now, with no Hockenson in there, you don't really know who's starting for the Vikings tight end room.
And even then, they could get one catch.
How are they going to utilize that? I feel like the Vikings are going to be so Aaron Jones dependent. You know what? You only live once. Easily see this guy getting a red zone touchdown. Theo Johnson.
Oh,
Theo Johnson.
Very interesting.
Didn't even mention his name once in the opening.
No, because it's like, what are the tight ends going to be a part? How are they going to be a part of this offense?
Which even with the slow, Theo Johnson didn't exactly have the summer that maybe we thought that he would have. I still think he is tight end 1 for this offense.
He was 12th on my big board, and you just took him 8th.
Okay.
But over Jalen Hyatt, who could be a starting receiver. All right,
you're talking about. I mean, these are two guys that could either get. Like, I think I could bank on Theo Johnson maybe catching a touchdown over Jalen Hyatt catching a touchdown. So that's kind of like what I'm going for here.
It would be cool to get a rookie. Also something, too, I'm so tired of Giants getting weapons, and it's like, when is their first touchdown going to be? Yeah. Or ever? Like, and again, relax when I say this, some people.
Sure.
Daniel Jones never threw a touchdown to Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, or Darren Waller, who are like those 3. Now, obviously, there's outside factors in that, but he never threw a touchdown to those 3 because Galladay's touchdown was from Davis Webb and Waller's touchdown was from Tyrod. Let's get the Malik Neighbors touchdown off the board early.
Out of the way.
Let's just get it out of the way so we don't have to be in week 4 but like another fucking star player we're so excited for and didn't get the touchdown. Even if it gets down to the 1-yard line, it's like, but he still didn't get the touchdown. And we can't say that Andrew Thomas has more touchdowns than him. So Malik Neighbors, get out of the way. But Justin went Theo Johnson. Jolly, what are your last 2 picks?
I'm going to snag Hyatt because even if it's not the first touchdown, if he does catch a pass, it's probably going to be an explosive play because that's just how they're going to draw him up. I like that as an X factor.
Still, and another guy, he hasn't gotten NFL. He hasn't gotten a touchdown
still waiting
yet.
for his first, yeah. So I'm hoping that we can snap that drought. One of them has to score. Let's make that a goal. Whether it's Hyatt or Neighbors, one of them should score.
It's going to be Darius Slayton.
It's probably gonna be. That's why I took him.
who's your last pick?
Reliable. And then I mean the last pick is probably going to be a 0. So I thought, why not take the guy I projected TU1 for the Vikings who shares a last name with me? I'll take Josh Oliver.
Oh, yeah. J.O. Oliver? That's kind of a
feels like good luck.
I interviewed Josh Oliver on Simple Man Radio back in the day.
Yeah, what's he like?
Didn't really answer much.
Nice.
But he went to San Jose State, and he got drafted by the Jags. I interviewed him after the draft.
Big.
We interviewed like 3 San Jose State players. Shane Smith, Will Osai, and then Josh. We were the San Jose State National Podcast. All right, Justin, your last pick.
He's projected as the starting outside receiver for the Vikings. Jalen Naylor, never knew her.
Yeah, again, I'm like staying away from the Vikings one. I would have taken it here because it's the last round. But who's the third guy on that team? He's dealing with an ankle, but he's probably going to play. I'm going to go.
Is this a tradable slot?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So I could go. There's 2 backup running backs. You could go Bellinger. Maybe he's the starting tight end. He did have a touchdown in the last game versus the Vikings.
Tyron Tracy? Take Tyron Tracy.
I think I'm going to just be a reminder that like I had this guy in the 6th round of my 2022 New York Giants mock. I'm gonna go Ty Chandler.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones can get banged up early in the game. Maybe they want to split the carries a little bit. Again, have no idea what the role is going to be for Tyrone Tracy. Bellinger, we don't really know the role. I know Ty Chandler's role. He's the backup on that team. So I'm going to go Ty Chandler. So to recap, me, your two-time defending champion, has Justin Jefferson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jordan Addison, and Ty Chandler. Justin has Malik Neighbors, Devin Singletary, Theo Johnson, and Jalen Naylor. And then Jolly has Darius Slayton, Aaron Jones, Jalen Hyatt, and Josh Oliver. I'll be honest, I feel best about my team.
Sure, I like my team.
We didn't give Jolly the ad for the segment after this. Why don't you send that to him right now, Justin?
I can.
Huge.
All right, so next is Giant Factor. It's an X Factor, but we call it Giants Factor because this is a Giant show. So I get to pick first this week because it goes in order of our draft. I'm going to go Kayvon Thibodeau. And this is not just for this game, but it is. Who are you, right? Year one, there was some good flashes. Didn't get a ton of great stats, but it was like, okay, it's a solid year one for a rookie edge, right? Especially he didn't play the first two games. Year two, had the sacks, right? Against bad tackles, but he had the sacks. He made those plays. But if you looked at guys who had 10-plus sacks last year and say, predict which one won't have the same success the next year. It'd be like Kayvon Thibodeau and Trayvon Walker from the same draft class. You are facing Brian O'Neill, who's a good tackle, but someone that the 5th overall pick in his third year should win. You should win that battle. The success of this defense hinges so much on who Kayvon Thibodeau is. It's year 3. Be a fucking dog. Have us at the end of the year talking about getting him paid now instead of later. Kayvon Thibodeau, it's week 1. It is year 3. This year is going to define who you are. Are you an empty stat guy? Are you a guy who affects the game down in, down out, no matter who the competition is? Kayvon Thibodeau, week 1, go out there and be a Giant Factor. Justin, who is your Giant Factor for week 1?
You thinking about going offense or defense?
I hope you don't go defense because my backup is defense.
All right, great. Then I'm going offense, baby.
Huge.
Jalen Hyatt. What are you?
Another what are you guy?
What are you? We were talking on the first half of the show about how there's going to be an opportunity maybe for some explosive plays where with this Vikings defense, Brian Flores is aggressive. Bobby said to fight fire with fire. Well, you want to know who can get down the field in a hurry and hopefully can beat the pass rush? Jalen Hyatt could get to 20 yards by the time that you have Andrew Van Ginkel hitting Daniel Jones. Jalen Hyatt, go out there and be a Giant Factor, man. We need some explosivity. We want to fight fire with fire. This year is about molding the offense to Brian Dable's vision, and I think there is a player in our offense that probably fits Brian Dable's vision best. Jalen Hyatt, be an explosive play option, but you want to know what? If there's a 3rd and 5 and you're running around underneath, you got to get open, get yards after the catch, make smart decisions with the ball in your hands as well. Jalen Hyatt, go out there, be a Giant Factor. What are you? Help answer that question.
Jolly, who was your first Giant Factor in talking Giants history?
I was thinking Kayvon, so good on you. Great thought process. Mine is not a who are you. Mine is more a let's prove ourselves. Let's not get embarrassed. Mine is Deonte Banks.
I thought about Banks too.
Really tough week 1 matchup. It's a tough way to start your season. It also could be a great way to start your season. We could be talking about the fact that Banks proved a lot of people wrong and got higher on everyone's stock list by having a decent game against Justin Jefferson. You can't have a game where he lights you up and has one of those Jets games that he just completely dominates whoever he's opposed to. And I really like some quotes that he had about, he was asked about this in the days leading up to the game. He said, "This is what I want. I wouldn't want it any other way, really. It gives me a challenge. This is what I was drafted for." That's what you like to hear from a guy who's going into a really difficult matchup. So I'm looking for him to at least stop the bleeding and prove that he can hang with some of the best talents in the league. Deonte Banks, be a Giant Factor.
All right. Next is spread picks, but Jolly, why don't you talk to us about something?
You want me to talk to you about Oregon?
I want you to talk about Oregon.
Okay, I can talk to you about
We're about
Oregon.
to gain some knowledge.
Oh, wow.
You're going to talk to us about Oregon.
Witty on his feet. Because he uses Oregon, they are the leader in real protein-powered nutrition that understands being good for you doesn't have to taste bad. 30-gram protein shakes. That's what you can get at Oregon.com right now. It gives you energy to keep going. It provides muscle support and recovery, and it helps manage hunger. Orgain, they're a new sponsor on Talking Giants. We love them a lot. They offer protein-packed real nutrition designed to satisfy cravings without all the sugar that might make you big in the tummy. So take advantage of this offer right now. If you want to get on delicious protein-packed nutrition today, head to Orgain.com/Giants20 and use code GIANTS20 for 20% off your order. That's ORGAIN.com/Giants20 for 20% off, and make sure you use that promo code Giants20. It's easy to remember. I've said it 5 times. We could probably say it 20 times if you need us to. That'll let them know that we sent you. Thank you, Oregon. You'll be glad you did.
All right, damn it. All right, good job.
All right. All right.
This man came prepped.
All
You'll be
right.
glad you did. He knows ball. He knows Talking Giants. All right, spread picks. 8 games every week. Last year, the listeners got their first ever championship.
Wow.
Their first ever one.
What do they get? Nothing.
No, I actually think I gave it. I think I did an extra T-shirt raffle last year
Oh,
for
okay,
somebody
never mind.
because they did it. I've won it twice. Danny won it once. Justin has won it 0 times.
That's right. And
All
Brad
time. I
Dennis.
actually went and looked all time because last year, me, you, and Danny finished 69 and 70.
Nice.
One game under. The listeners finished at 73 and 66.
It's actually kind of crazy.
Last year was my first year where I wasn't over 500, which it doesn't suck just to have your first year under 500, but to miss it by 1 game freaking sucks. All time, I'm up 9 units. Justin, you're down 15.
Yep.
The listeners are down 1 unit. Danny retires up 21 units.
Damn.
He had an insane 2022 where he
Just was on fire.
or no, it was 2021 where he was up 28 units at the end of the year. The listeners are represented by a Patreon every single week. Thursday Night Football, Ravens at Chiefs -3. The listeners represented by Anthony Zarro are going Ravens +3. I'm going Chiefs -3. I tweeted out today, quote tweet of Chris Jones, or Chris Jones versus this Ravens new offensive line gives me so much confidence that the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'm going Chiefs -3. Justin, who do you got?
Yeah, Chiefs -3. I'm excited to see this new look Ravens offensive line, but I think the fact that it's that new look, you have 3 new starters. Give me Chiefs -3.
Jolly.
Yeah, we're watching this game tonight on stream. Should be
Yeah.
fun. Definitely Chiefs -3. Worried about Derrick Henry on my fantasy team because I do think it's going to be a tough night for him.
I have him on my fantasy team too.
Nice.
Packers at Eagles in Brazil. What is going on in Brazil? What did you guys see what Darius Slay tweeted? All I saw was his apology.
Great.
There was some type of thing where I think he disrespected Brazil and they were threatening to kill him or something. I don't know. I'm really rooting for Big Dom to have some type of
Altercation.
Yeah, there has to be some type of Big Dom Brazil altercation down there. Packers at Eagles -2. Listeners are going Eagles. Jolly, who do you got?
Packers because I want it. That's all.
Fair enough. Justin,
What did we say in football today?
we both picked the Eagles, I think.
All right, then
No, I think you picked the Packers.
Oh, that's right, because Rose went. I'm going with the Packers.
Nice.
All right, I am going to go Eagles. I think the Eagles bounce back. Even if they do, I think early season their offense is going to be able to win games. Texans at Colts +3. Everyone is so excited for Anthony Richardson, and I want to see what he is. I think this Texans offense is just going to boat race the Colts defense. I got Texas -3. The listeners agree. Justin, who do you got?
It's been a decade since the Colts have won a Week 1 game, so give me the Texans.
Crazy stat. You should tweet that out.
Yeah.
Jolly, who do you got?
Texans as well. I feel like I'm falling into the pack a lot, but these are my picks.
This is the first clean sweep of the year.
Yeah.
Jags at Dolphins -3.5. Justin, who do you got?
Dolphins -3.5. I think the offensive firepower is too much. They're going to be good early on in the season. Dolphins -3.5.
Yeah, you just have to bet on the Dolphins early in the year, especially when they're not playing an elite opponent. So I'm going Dolphins as well, although the listeners are going to go Jags. Jolly, who do you got?
I'm with the listeners. I got to try and separate myself from the pack. I'm going Jags.
You just got to be right. Separate. It's a slow build. Last year, I was behind a lot, and I got so fucking close to beating the listeners. But
Remember last year I was 20 games, 30 games. It was something crazy. I was below 500.
I just listened to the episode. You must have gone 7-1 in your last week because you were down.
I was really down, and then I think I actually had 2 weeks of 7-1.
Yeah, you did.
I crawled back to 500.
Me and you both finished strong after not being so hot. Yeah. Titans at Bears -3.5. Justin and me on Football Today said that this is the game we're actually looking forward to watching the most.
Yep.
I go back and forth on this one, but because it's plus 3.5, I could see it being a 3-point game. So I'm just going to take the points with the Titans. Titans plus 3.5. I do think they win, even though I'm not super confident in that. Titans plus 3.5. Listeners agree. Justin, who do you got?
I agree. Titans plus 3.5. This is a hit. So this is a 0.5-point spread if they're on a neutral field, which I find to be interesting. This spread's weird. Titans plus 3.5.
Jolly.
Number 1 pick quarterbacks are 0-8 in their last 8 games in week 1. So I'm going Titans.
That's a.
You know who would have never brought that stat?
But Danny was better than us in this, so you can't talk shit.
Danny thrived at different things. This is not Danny slandered.
No, the worst would be like Danny would pick like a backup tight end who has like 8 yards. I'm like, that's the dumbest pick of all time, and he would have a touchdown in that game. So it's like you can't question it.
No, yeah.
Cowboys at Browns minus 2.5. I think this is a lot of people's most anticipated game.
Tom Brady.
Defense. I think this is going to be a defensive slugfest. And again, another game where I'm going to take the. I think the Browns are going to win. I'm not confident, but I'm going to take the points. Browns plus 2.5. Jolly, who do you got?
I'll take the Cowboys in this one.
All right. The listeners agree with you. Justin, who do you got?
Cowboys as well. You would think this would be like.
Oh, wait. I have the Browns minus 2.5. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have here.
All right. So you guys both have Cowboys?
Yeah.
All right. Make sure I write that down right. Rams at Lions minus 3.5. Rematch Sunday Night Football. Please, Lions fans, boo the shit out of Matthew Stafford. Please. I loved it so much. Bring the same energy. No more. No, okay, this is your welcome back. No. Boo the shit out of him. Use your home field advantage. I'm going Lions minus 3.5. Justin, who do you got?
There's no logic because I think the Lions are a much better team. I think they improved a lot this offseason. I think they're going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. But the Rams are going to get their revenge. Matt Stafford outplayed Jared Goff in the postseason. Give me the Rams. Plus 3.5.
Listeners got the Lions. Jolly, who do you got?
Lions by 20.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. And then Monday Night Football.
This is a huge spread.
Yeah.
Jets at 49ers minus 4.5. I mean, you're talking about a team that was picking 10th and a team that was in the Super Bowl, but I understand. All right, Justin, listeners are going 49ers. Justin, who do you got?
Jets, baby.
Yeah?
Jets.
I agree. It's a 4. My prediction was the 49ers win on the last drive of the game, but that's a 4.5-point spread. I think that defense is in for a big game, but I think the 49ers pull it out. Jolly, who do you got?
I like the Jets this year, but I'm going Niners. I don't know. It feels like too big for their week 1. You know?
All right. So I'm interested to see how week 1 goes. We're all 0-0, 0-0 listeners. Good luck defending your title. All right, we only do this segment once per year. Jolly, what is your record prediction for the 2024 New York Giants?
You know, I've said it on tape, I think, in a couple videos and streams, so I'm going to stick to it, especially because I'm on the pod. This is year 3. You're starting to get basically a lot of pieces you set in place, you signed, you went out there and got. The expectation should be to win football games. The New York Giants should go 9-8 this year.
So that's your prediction?
That is my prediction.
Okay. Justin, what is your record prediction for the 2024 New York Giants?
7-10. One game better than last year. You got to win the first 2 weeks. If you win the first 2 weeks, then things get a lot different and a lot more fun. Yeah. But and I'm talking 2-0, not just splitting, but 7-10.
That's what I'm operating out of.
Yeah, 2-0. I'm going kind of chalk.
So the reason why I'm going to land at where I'm at is not that I think the Giants aren't capable of, winning 9 games like Jolly. It's just I think there's so much lack of depth that you need so many things to go right. And again, we're seeing Daniel Jones coming off the injury. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about DJ coming off of the injury. This is the first time we've seen him come off of this, and an offense is going to ask more out of him. So I'm going to go 7-10 as well. I think this team is capable of doing a little bit of surprising, but they need some things to go the right way. So I'm going to land at 7-10, unfortunately. But, Jolly, what is your score prediction for Vikings at Giants, 1 o'clock, the Giants' first 1 o'clock Sunday game since the Jags in 2018?
I might just roll the Giants classic here. I might just roll 17-14.
Oh.
I feel like that's just
believe it and it will happen.
Believe it and it will happen. 1 touchdown, we are world champions. would like to go with a 24-20 victory for the New York Football Giants.
I'm nervous about this game. Not just because it's one game, not just because it's week one, because I really do think this makes a difference in how their entire season goes.
So much.
You know, we talked about it, that they have a rough stretch. Doesn't mean they can't win any games in those stretch, but it is a rough stretch.
But we're not in that right now.
For those games to matter, really matter, to steal one or two of those games to really matter. That's a great photo.
Sure.
They need to win these first two games of the year, but I'm nervous. But I'm also not, because I'm confident, because it is New York Giants football, and we are going to win. The New York Giants 77, the Vikings 0. Year 6 of Talking Giants. Let's win some games. We'll be back for a victory podcast on Monday. Thank you, Jolly Olive, for joining Talking Giants 3.0. Thank you to all the listeners who have made this offseason fun. We will see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.